All
Okay, and you're all set.
right, thank you.
Yep, have a good evening.
Yep, bye-bye. Thanks a
Bye.
lot. All right. Well, it's 7:02, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Not knowing if Nicole will be able to come or not. The first. All right, call to order. First item is approval of the minutes, May 12th. Everybody get them? Everybody look at them? Who wants to make a motion? Lauren and Michael, you're both mute, so.
I'll make a motion to
All right.
accept it.
All right.
I had
I'll
a
second.
All right. All right. I don't guess we don't have anyone on from the public. I don't see anybody in chat. I mean, in the waiting room. All right, so Wyman Meadow. So we had our site visit yesterday. Michael was there and Maureen was there. Lauren, you definitely had your priorities straight to go see your son's performance. What is he, 4? Is your son 4 or 5 or? Are you not hearing me?
We can't hear you, Lauren.
Yeah, we can't hear you either.
Did your headphones connect or something?
It doesn't say you're muted, but we can't hear you. No, well, now it says you're muted. Huh. Oh, her microphone just failed. All right, well, you made your second motion. We won't hear about your son's performance. That's okay. So, anyway, the site visit yesterday, we went well. I would have liked to have had a bigger crowd, but the who turned up was worthwhile. John Hart came. It was good to have him there because he's been out there looking at the property and is very eager to start working on it, especially the town part. The other person who was there was one neighbor came, David. I didn't get his last name. Did anybody else get his name? No,
I did not.
I could probably find it on the abutter list, but and he was very, very favorable. He was very he's the one who's done the mowing there up to now along the side of the road, and he's done that parking loop, and he has a garden up at the he's on the west side of the road, on the street. And so that was good. And he was eager to help out in any way he could, it sounded like. And he had contacted one of the neighbors to mention it or something, but. And then, sorry, I'm muting myself for one.
While Eileen is muted, are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Now I can. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, now we can. So the other person who was there was Wendy Smith, and she's chair of the Conservation Commission. So it was great to have her because she was not familiar with the property, and of course, any application for a permit will have to go through her. And she and Owen actually took a walk later after we all left because she wanted to kind of see part of the property. I don't know how far they went, but anyway, of course, Owen was there also from Wildlands Trust. So that was a good news. And then Bob, Owen immediately today wrote a letter to Bob Ruley, an email rather, asking him what he should do next, because Owen is going to undertake the filings because he's been involved in wetlands proceedings before in other towns, and I have not. So he said he would be happy to do that. And he didn't get a response from Bob that comported with what he had heard before. He had talked with Steve Sobel a long time ago, months and months ago. And Steve, of course, was the person who was staffing the Conservation Commission then, and he has left for a job in Middlebury. He's been gone He's been gone a few months now. And what Owen understood that it was a pretty simple procedure. That there would be a filing for a request for, I think it's a request for applicability. And expecting that they would basically say there was nothing that needed to be done. I think this is the understanding. I don't understand the Concom proceedings or their terminology or anything. But that basically would be pretty simple. They would go show the plans. There'd be likely a determination that it really wasn't necessary to do anything more if that's all they were gonna do. And that it would be okay by the Concom. And Bob today said something to Owen, that it was a series of emails about, oh, you're gonna have to file this notice of application, that you're gonna have to go through a second step, which Owen didn't understand was gonna have to be done. And the kicker is that Bob really is saying that's gonna require an engineering study. And Owen said that's gonna be really expensive. I mean, if that has to be done, we're no longer talking about $1,000 project. That it would be many thousands more. And I don't get it, and he doesn't get it either. I mean, and plus Wendy Smith was not implying that last night at all. She seemed to think that what Owen was saying was likely to happen. That was how I understood. I mean, I didn't, the question wasn't put to her directly, but the way they were talking, it was like, yeah, okay, this sounds like a pretty simple thing. And then she went out to see what he was gonna do. I didn't ask him. I should have asked him what impression she gave him when she walked that little bit of the trail. One of the areas he was showing us was where there was gonna be a bog board and things like that. And I don't know what her reaction was, but he was quite confident that we were going forward with this simple procedure, and he was eager to get it on the Concom's agenda, I think for July 13th. And so now we don't know where we're at. And what I suggested to Owen was that he call Wendy Smith and, see what her take is on it. I mean, I don't know if this is a possibility or not, but Bob is new to town, and he's from Rhode Island, and I have no idea what, Rhode Island's wetlands laws are compared to Massachusetts. I don't know how many of these Bob's even had to do yet since Steve left. And, maybe he has, we're hoping he doesn't quite understand the process, or he thinks that more is required than is. Although he didn't seem to imply that a long time ago. I mean, Owen sent him an email maybe at least over a month ago, just to see about getting the project started, and whatever Bob said, it just didn't sound like it was something that was going to be a big deal. So that's where it stands, and Owen's going to see if he can do a little bit of more, a little bit more reconnoitering. He might try to set up a meeting with Bob, and we'll see where it goes. So I'm going to be away for a while, and I just asked him to keep me informed with emails, although I don't think I'm going to be looking at them. But maybe we can have a meeting when I get back, or maybe he and Bob can even meet in my absence. So anyway, so much for our sense yesterday that this was full steam ahead. I always anticipated that if we had any hang up, where it would come from would be from the water department or public works, because they both sent a kind of Azu, who's chairman of the public works department now, or head of public works, sent a message a long time ago saying, oh, well, who's going to pick up the trash, and who, people are going to block the road, and blah, 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 just sort of generally negative. And I had asked him to come to our site visit. That was back in October, so we could answer those questions for him, or to set up a conference call with me and Josh, who's the chair of the water department or director, whatever. Because he just wanted to see a map. Josh wanted to see a map. And I didn't, neither one of them got back to me, and neither one of them responded to the email I sent out with the map and the description, the letter, etc. last time. So that's always been what I was afraid might kind of, suddenly become a bigger issue, just once they latched onto it or actually realized it was in the works. gonna happen, but now this is something entirely different, so. Anyway, we'll see. That's government. So. All right, that's it. Tree committee report, I was hoping, I know the tree committee met a couple days ago. I was hoping either Pat or Nicole would be on to give us a report, but they're not.
Eileen,
But
I just happen to think of a question. If there needs to be an engineering report, who picks up the cost for that?
well, that's the issue, yeah, I mean. And the other thing that, well, one of my thoughts was, well. Maybe we could apply for CPA money, maybe the town could apply for Community Preservation Act money, because I think the CPA will fund that sort of thing, like they'll do an architect's, won't they, Maureen? I mean, you may have heard some of this, but it seems to me that they will pay for some consultant work prior to a project. And it may come out of their administrative fund or something, but I know there was something that the Congregational Church was trying to get to see if the CPA could pay for the
Repairs,
the what?
wasn't it repairs?
Yeah, but they were trying, there was there was a consultant who's helped people with these projects. And he's charged, he charges money to whoever is applying, and they were asking if they could get his fee paid by or something, and I don't know what happened on that, but I think there is something they call the administrative fund, and they do take different administrative things out of there as opposed to just the project on the ground, sort of, so I don't know. The other thing is, would an engineer be willing to donate some time to the project just because it's public interest? I don't know. And what Owen noticed also was that we do have a town engineer, and his name is Paul somebody. Azu used to be the conservation commission, conservation agent, and he is an engineer, I know. But if whether the town engineer could step in, I don't know. So this is just, it's an exploratory.
Maybe Nicole could at least,
Yeah.
even if not donate, at least advise on, because I'm
Right,
sure
yeah.
she's familiar on
Yeah.
what engineering studies are needed. So she might be able to give some
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah, and I would
About-
think she's probably gone through the process in Bridgewater even, with clients or something. so.
Yeah.
No, Owen did say that every town's different, that, he's gone through this with many towns. Not, not an identical project, but different aspects of Concom hearings and applications and notices and et cetera, and that every town seems to do a little bit differently, so. But yeah, that is a good idea, that, maybe I'll, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that before tomorrow, but, yeah, so. We'll see. Anyway. Good question, Maureen, but don't know the answer. All right, chapter 61 properties. You guys are ready to go, I heard.
Yeah, we divided up the list. We got a new list from the town. So we
Okay.
have the 2023 chapter 61 properties list. And so I went through the first page and sort of used those biomaps to take notes on what was there and what it was touching. And so I found sort of 3 properties or sets of properties that are like touching open space.
Okay.
And so I can share my screen to, oh, are you able to add,
Oh, yeah, let me add you.
like enable or add us?
Yeah, yeah, I need to do
Michael will have to as well.
participants, oh, let's see. Co-host.
Oh, and Pat's here.
Oh, good. All right, well, we'll back up here for a second.
All right, I think I'm able to share now.
Yeah, you're both co-hosts.
Great. Okay.
Hi,
So
Pat.
let me just share my screen. So these are my notes. So, all right, so we have here, this yellow stripe is like a piece of the Bridgewater State Forest. And so this is one, and let me go back to my list here. That one is this John Turner. And you can go to the Bridgewater maps to see the
Oh,
specific
okay.
parcel on there. So that would be who, sort of owns this particular piece of land that's touching the Bridgewater State Forest. It's got wetlands on it. So,
Now, is the whole thing, I mean, how big is it? Do we know from that?
I don't have the sort of scale here, but
uh-huh,
you can kind of, sort of estimate, because you can imagine these are probably, these are sort of short little,
Yeah, right, okay, all right,
streets here. So, this is a decent
size property, yeah.
size property here.
What do the colors designate? Does that matter? The green?
It's like different levels. So if we go to the biomap, let me pull one of these up, see if it's still any good. So the dark green is local wetlands, the lighter green is
Oh.
local wetlands buffer, and then the sort of other colors that are common are either like these local landscapes, whatever that means, probably just meaning like forested.
Uh-huh,
And then let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, so the stripes are the open space, but I would say those are the most common ones, these wetlands or wetland buffers or like local landscapes.
yeah, okay, all
Um,
right.
okay, so that's one of them. And
Right.
then we have this one here. I
Oh,
wasn't sure so this says this was on the biomap as protected open space, but I'm not exactly sure like which one it is. Do you know what's off of Harvest Lane?
yeah, there is a story about that I've heard, that developer. Oh, gosh, I don't know, I can't remember much of it, but I know there was, that was part of the plan, that would be left, that would be set aside, I think, as open space when he put
Mhm.
those houses in. I think it was there was one house just at the end there, and then the whole rest of it was just open land, until about, 20 years ago. It was open, it was forested when I moved here, so, yeah, so anyway, that's interesting, that would be interesting to find out, just because I know, I think Kitty Doherty may have told me the history of that.
Mhm.
So, yes, so but you said that it designates protected open space, right?
Yeah, so this is saying that it's protected.
Yeah,
And
so
you
are
can
you saying,
see,
but it's also chapter 61, is that what it is? It is chapter.
so it's
61.
so this piece here, this like sort of long skinny one on the other side of this one,
Okay,
that is saying it's not protected,
okay, yeah.
but it's chapter
yeah,
61.
That, I think the Hansons actually farm that, I mean, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that one is
okay,
Jay Leach and David Jay
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the trustees.
right, okay,
So you can see there's not like a color on it, so it doesn't have wetlands or anything on it.
Yeah.
And then the last one is here touching, oh, where did it go? Here we go. So these are this is like the edge of the like land for the softball fields.
Mhm.
And so like this like these two parcel, so these three that are highlighted with the zeros are
Oh.
chapter 61 touching the softball fields, so I don't know. And so those are Robert Wood lands.
Okay, I think I remember that one from before. I think that's well known too. Somebody was talking to me about that. All right. It is chapter 61, you said.
Yep, so all of these ones that were like touching the open space
Yeah.
are chapter 61 properties.
Does it tell you what the use is for that chapter 61, which of the uses?
I don't think so, because there's a
Okay.
key, there's a parcel, owner, location. Yeah, there's like a bunch of numbers, but I don't see anything that like gives me the sort of key for what type it is.
All right. What is the address of those properties?
Let's see, so the softball fields ones, that has a little piece that goes down to Fox Hill Drive.
Okay,
The one that's touching the Bridgewater State Forest is off of Laurel Street.
oh, okay, yeah, no, I was just talking about these last ones, the stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the other one that's around Harvest Lane is touching, or
Yes,
like
right, yeah,
South
that one-
Street.
That one I'm familiar with too, but yeah, and I think some of that woodland, might have butt some of the Hanson's farm too. It seems like when we took a tour, a tractor tour back there, and I think some of that, but anyway, okay, all right, well, that's good. All right, thanks, Lauren. Hi, Pat. All right, Michael, you have a report as well?
Yes, I do.
All right.
All right, I'll share my screen. So my list was not as fruitful as Lauren's list, but there were a couple of parcels that were actually pretty well known. One of them was the Styles and Hart at the Tika and Cook Street. So that was an overlap. So I won't show that one. But the one that was kind of I would say a home run where it hit all of the, it checked all of the boxes was 0 Green Street. Where is it? Is it Green Street? Oh yeah, sorry, 98B Green Street, which is right here. And that is core habitat, natural landscape, aquatic core, wetland, forest, rare
Oh, goodness,
species.
all right. So orient us to where that is. I don't know where I am in Bridgewater at the moment.
Let's see. This is, let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. It's near Camp Tika.
Oh,
Off
okay,
Vernon.
okay,
So Vernon and Green Street.
okay, all
Yep. And access to Plymouth as well. So,
right, okay.
but that has the most overlap. Down here, I believe, this is Styles and Hart area. So that's why I didn't mention those. And then the other ones are pretty, they're pretty, I don't know what the hell just happened. Sorry.
Oh,
I have a trackpad, so it's acting weird. The only other one that I saw that was prevalent was, oh God, sorry. All the filters are on right now, so it's trying to pull everything up at once, which is fun. So we're gonna zoom here. And this is Cotton Street, which
okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
where Kate Doherty lives, so I'm sure she knows.
Yep, and that's, yep, that's 0 Continent Street.
And who's the owner?
The owner is James W. Curtin.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, would you go back to the, Green Street one if you can? Is that feasible?
The Green Street one, the one that is overlaps everything? Yeah,
Yeah,
where is it? This is just having a really good time right now. I don't know. Hold on one sec. Come on, catch up. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that's the Green Street one.
so where's Titicut?
It is, I think if I zoom out a little bit, please let me zoom out slightly, right here.
We've gone hiking there. There's some nice trails.
Oh, right, yeah, no, I know where it is, I just can't find it on the map. That's
Yeah,
what
it's
I-
right here, where
Right there,
I'm,
okay, oh, Camp Titicut, okay, and
Yep.
then, and what's the property you're looking at?
Green Street, right here.
Well, where's your arrow? Oh, I see, okay. Green Street, huh, all right. So the light green is wetlands buffers, dark green is, wetlands, I think you said, Lauren.
Yeah, there's a bunch of overlays. So if you
Okay.
you can take them all off individually, but this is core habitat in critical natural landscape.
And what's the, parcel number there?
Green Street, 98B, I believe.
98B Green Street, okay,
Yeah, it's right here.
okay. All right, well, that sounds like something worth pursuing. And did you say who the owner was of that one? I didn't write it down. If you did.
See, it was John Flaherty. Sorry. Hold on.
All right,
Yeah, John Flaherty.
okay,
Oh, sorry, Michael Flaherty.
Michael, all right,
Sorry about that.
I think he's chair of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I was just on one of the meetings and there's a couple Flahertys who are active in the town, I know, but I think Michael was, all right, okay. All right, is that it for you?
That's it for me.
Okay, Lauren, could you tell how many of these had changed since the 3 years ago or so that you looked it up before, had some, a lot of
Well,
them-
it seems like there's fewer. I didn't count them, but originally
Okay.
there were
more than, yeah.
they were on to 3 pages. I don't think it was 3 full pages,
Okay.
and now it's only on 2 pages. So
Okay.
there's
okay.
definitely some that have.
All right, now the groups that you each covered here, these are the ones that you're looking at to see if they're adjacent to some
Correct.
other conservation land or open space.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay, all right. All right. Okay. So I'm trying to think what the next step would be here. Well, Nicole would certainly be helpful again, because she would be able to zero in on everything, I suppose. And I don't know if it'd be worth talking to Bob. Really. We'll have to think about this. I mean, do either of you have any ideas? You thought about it? Michael, you've had a number of conversations with Bob. Do you think it'd be worth approaching him to see what he thinks about trying to approach some of these neighbors? I mean, all we would be doing, I think, is sending letters. Telling them that their property is such and such, or, you know, we notice that it's chapter 61 and
Mhm.
it's adjacent to such and such, and we're interested in it, acquiring it as open space. Now, I don't know if, before we do that, if we ought to find out whether it's feasible. I mean, whether we ought to have a plan first to identify our top priority, like maybe it would be this Green Street. And seeing if funding would be available, you know, is that something that we could purchase through Community Preservation Act funds? Or, I mean, I guess that's probably premature. I mean, I think the first thing we need to do is just find out if the town would have any interest in our moving ahead on some of these. And then if they
Right.
do, then the next step is, well, okay, how do we, what do we pay, how do we pay for it? And for instance, you know, I think I've mentioned before that in connection with the Hanson Farm property, I was interested in getting the town to look into acquiring the land over where the slaughterhouse is.
Yep.
And that was really a David Hanson suggestion, because they would like to see that preserved. I mean, you know, they're just because they farm part of it right now. And also it's adjacent to Murray Needs. So it seems like for that reason, it would be nice to have it preserved. And then also Murray Needs goes quite a bit back from the North Street side, and David Hanson owns quite a bit of property back there that it abuts. And he intends to preserve that long term. So it could end up being a, you know, fairly good size parcel of land that would be preserved. And I know Michael at one point wasn't interested. Well, for one thing, they had it up for sale. David Hanson had said that the woman had put it up for sale, and she didn't, you know, from what he had mentioned, she didn't have any interest really in working with the town on it. But I thought it would be worth it if the town called and asked her, you know, if Michael Dutton would find out. And at the time, he told me, Bob Ruley told me, Michael didn't want to do that because there was an offer on the property. That offer has since fallen through. And so the last time I met with the Hansons, Bob Ruley and Carlton Hunt, and this was related to the Hansons project, it came up again, and we raised it with Bob again. So I just give that as another example of one where the town, the first question was, is Michael Dutton in the town interested in pursuing it? And then we would probably have to go through that process for any one of these too. So maybe we need to figure out which one we think is most valuable, and maybe rank them by value. Get the acreage, I think would be important. Is there any way to get the acreage from what you see on either biomap or in the town records?
Yeah, there should be. It's actually built right into the biomap. Let me look really quickly. To answer your original question,
Uh,
I think it would be advantageous to talk to Bob about it. However, what would if it's, you know, wetlands or anything like that, would we just want to preserve it through the trust, or would there be a usage for it potentially, depending on the use case? Like if it's extreme like wetlands, like could it not be like trails cut out of it, or is it just out of
Yeah, no,
preservation?
I think at this point, all we would be looking at is just protecting it.
Gotcha.
You know, that we don't have a particular use in mind. I mean, maybe the one that's on Green Street near Titicut. I mean, I don't know if anybody would think that would be a good idea to expand Titicut or not. I don't know. I mean, but I would think just for the pure value of preservation of open space, if it's adjacent, that being adjacent to an open space, I think is just one criterion for what to preserve. There may be other reasons that some of these properties may be, you know, we should look at the rest of them too. That you've made a good start here about what's adjacent, but maybe there's one that's very close to a well someplace, one of the town wells, or maybe there's one close to a river that isn't Yeah, anyway, I don't know, but it seems to me that the way I understand chapter 61 is that if the property owner is interested in selling it to the town, the advantage to them is they would get a reduced tax, they have a reduced tax rate now. And if they want to sell it for housing, then I guess they have to go back and pay some of those taxes that they didn't have to pay in the past. If they don't. Pat, do you know anything about it? Do you know more about it than me? No, you're muted. You're muted.
I don't know the details
Yeah,
on.
okay. I
the
mean, I
fin-
know this, this came up, I first got this idea on one of those land conservation seminars. They were talking about doing this. And I mean, for one thing, it's just the process of identifying open space, because a lot of towns like us don't have many. Some places have huge amounts, some of the towns in Western Mass and stuff have huge amounts of open space. For us, if we haven't checked any open space, it's what's left, and there's not a lot.
Right.
And some of it is chapter 61, and chapter 61 has some advantage to a property owner as a certain use, and then if, maybe they're not using it for anything and they'd be happy to donate it. I guess
That's true.
somebody approached Jay Leach, I think Kitty Doherty approached Jay Leach years ago, because that field on South Street across from Harvest Lane, which is open, I think he was asked to consider doing something with that for, giving it to the town or selling it to the town. And since then, of course, he put up his own house and a couple of other houses there. So I don't think anybody's approached him in the meantime or since
No.
then. So, but I know some of these people have been spoken to before. And I think one of the things I might do is call Kitty and find out if any of these people, if she's had any contact with any of these people over. I'm quite sure that she's probably knows all about the person on Conant Street, because she lives right there. So I think that would be, that she would know exactly what's going on.
Eileen,
Mhm.
I did look up what chapter 61 is, and you are correct. They get a break on, if I reading it right, they'll get a break on the value for tax purposes.
Mhm.
And that also that the town has the right to purchase the land on the same terms for the same price that's
That's right,
stated
yeah,
in the
okay.
purchase and sale.
Yep, that's.
Yep.
Mhm.
And just so you know, it's roughly 1.06 million square feet, which comes out to just shy of 3 acres.
Okay, the Green Street.
Yep, 98B Green Street, and that is held in the Green Street Realty Trust. So 98B Green Street Realty Trust. So it's being held in a trust. So if it's in a trust, then I would assume it's just being held as an asset and not as much else.
Yeah, yeah.
I know where Green Street is, I believe, but I don't see how it touches Titicus. Did you go take a look at it?
Green is the one where, when you go down south and you turn right on, yeah, that's Green right there. Yep.
It looked like it was kind of like across the street from the
Yeah.
Titicus. So there's a,
Oh, okay,
It abuts a bunch of parcels along there.
okay.
Yeah,
And it actually nearly abuts. It looks like it says Massasoit State Park.
Really?
no,
No, that can't be.
no, can't be.
No, Massasoit State Park is south of 44.
Yeah,
I'll share my screen just so you can see it. It's
Okay.
really, it's odd. I don't know if maybe it's mislabeled on the biomap.
maybe.
Yeah, I'll zoom in a little bit here for you. This is the parcel
Uh-huh.
right here. And then this is Massasoit State Park, supposedly. That little thing right there says Massasoit State Park, that label.
Oh, that's strange.
So,
Huh.
which is
Yeah.
odd.
I don't know where the town boundary is down there.
Yeah, because that's where.
I mean,
butts-
it is, Titicut's right on the border.
Of Middleborough and Bridgewater, is it?
Mhm.
Yeah, because the parcel right next to it is Middleborough.
Oh, okay.
So this is Green Street, Bridgewater, and then this parcel right here is Middleborough. and then this is Middleborough, and
Mhm.
then this is technically inside the state park, supposedly.
All right, well, so, so I don't know what the best way to proceed is. One thing, I mean, just having this discussion about that Green Street property is, would it be worth just, Michael, you want to go out there sometime and just take a look? Not far.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you just see if you can get a sense of how it looks, what the lay of the land is, and,
Yeah, I can take some pictures or take some
Yeah.
video and just check it out. And
yeah. See if the map lines up, if the biomap lines up with what seems to be on the ground.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Because that, I mean, that seems to be the one that has the most wildlife and natural resources and wetlands value. Conan Street, I will check with Kitty about that.
I would check with the, about the John Turner one on Laurel Street. Because that one looks like it's 18 acres,
All right,
so that's a decent size.
yeah,
What street was that?
Laurel.
Laurel.
Yeah.
Oh, Laurel, okay.
Yeah, I actually have never made it out to the Bridgewater Forest yet, so Bridgewater State Forest, I've been talking about going out there for about a year. So maybe this is a region to make it a joint trip to see that one. All right. And then let's see, I'm sure the Hansons would know what's going on with the Harvest Lane, that field that's right on South Street. And I have a feeling that I can get the story on what went on about Harvest Lane, those back lots. I mean, I've heard it before, I just can't remember what it was. And I'll ask Kitty Doherty when I talk to her.
The open field directly across from Harvest Lane that's in between
Yeah,
the house, all the different
Yeah.
houses over there. I have seen, I don't know who it is, but I do believe that land is used and farmed.
yeah, I think it's the Hansons, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And they do that leach field also. And
Mm.
they've got another one a little further down. It's like you go down and there's a couple of houses and then there's another one that's also on the east side of South Street.
Yep. Yeah, that's usually corn from what I've seen.
Yes, right, yeah, yeah. All right, so, what did you say about the Styles and Hart, Michael? What was?
The other one that was viable on there was Styles and Hart, but we knew that. And that was 0 Titicut Street and 0 Cook Street.
But that's chapter 60, that's already chapter 60, Styles and Hart,
Yes.
chapter 61 probably, okay. all right.
Yep.
Oh, okay, so let's see, Harvest Lane, and the softball fields. I think that one's kind of a well-known story also. So I think part of it is there are people who can tell us a lot more about all of these than any one or all of us know.
Mm.
I mean, Kitty may even have some idea about this Green Street. Just because it's so close to Titicut, and that was certainly a topic of discussion years ago. All right, well, that's good. I mean, we'll leave it at that for now. I don't actually know what the next steps will be. I will talk to Kitty early in July. Michael, you're going to go out and look at that Green Street property. Laurel, do you want to go take a look at the John Turner one?
I'm not quite sure how I would get to it because it doesn't have access to any of the roads
Oh, there's no
and
frontage. Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah, and so it's pretty marshy. So I'd have to like do some serious
Right, yeah.
hiking, I think, to get to it.
Buy yourself some waders or something. Yeah. no.
Yeah.
All right, never mind. Okay. Well, I will have a phone call with Kitty and see where she can provide some insight. Pat, do you know who Michael Flaherty is? He chair of Parks and Rec Commission? Do you know?
I do not know.
You don't know, okay.
I don't know. I don't know that name.
You don't, okay. And and the wood property, I've had a conversation with somebody about that at one point too. Michael probably knows a lot about these as well, Michael Dutton, so, maybe we could ask him to. If you guys would both, if you two, Michael and Lauren, if you both would just come up with a list of the ones that you've investigated and describe what you could get from the biomap, what the habitat is, what the surrounding properties are. If you can possibly get the acreage, I think that's really important. And the owners. And I think maybe we'll get a list and then maybe go to Bob or just send an email to Bob or Michael and say, gee, we're trying to figure out whether any of these are potential acquisitions by the town. And see if he would just have a meeting with us. That might be the best thing to do rather than floundering around for some strategy that may not even be on their horizon, they just may not have any interest in it. Because any of these properties would have to be purchased through Chapter 61 fund, I imagine. I mean, not Chapter 61, I'm sorry, community preservation funds. And whether, what's available in that right now. And some of these, from what I understand on these conservation conferences that I've been to, and also from the people at Wildlands Trust, some of these owners, you just have to go, keep them in mind and go mention it to them and talk with them or whatever for years. And then maybe something will happen in 20 years or something, so it's really a long-term thing. So, and I mentioned yesterday, I don't know who I mentioned this to, whether it was you, Michael, but at Wyman Meadows, there's also a piece of property across the river that Michael Costa owns. And I think it's adjacent to, well, there's a subdivision. He put in a subdivision there, but it would be valuable too because it borders the river. And I think it's on the same side as, I don't know, the way the river wanders over there, I can't ever figure out which side is which. But I know Wildlands Trust is trying to preserve some of the river boundary where that Cherry Street development is. The huge, the hundreds of houses with not a tree left. So Michael, Wildlands Trust and I wrote a letter to him a while back asking if he would be interested in being approached by the town to acquire some of that property, that it looked like it would be valuable. And he didn't respond. And I think I called him or wrote another letter. He didn't respond to that. And Kitty Doherty said she talked with him years ago, and he does come into the town offices frequently because I mentioned it to Jennifer Burke when she was there as Community Economic Development, and I mentioned it to Bob Ruley. He says he does come in, and I know Jennifer did mention it to him, and Bob Ruley said he would too. I don't know if he has, but now what I was hoping that once we got the Wyman Meadow project done, well, that would be the time to suggest to Mr. Costa that, gee, this is a great opportunity for you to be part of this expansion of this area and making it kind of a, little wildlife refuge over there by the river, such important property, so on. But anyway, so that's just another one that was the approach we were taking, is just writing a letter. And so that may be something that could be done with all of these. And the only thing I know about this is really what I heard on those conferences, those Mass Land Trust or whatever it was, Land Conservation, about how to approach it. And that was where I got the idea when we started this 3 years ago. So All right, well, I think that's where we'll leave it. If you could both come up with a list, just a description and try to make them consistent so that, you've got the same information of the different pieces of parcels of property. And then we'll take it from there. Now, these are just the ones that are adjacent to some open space, right? Yeah, okay. Because the next stab might be, well, what's not adjacent to open space? And is any of that valuable? Because it could be, maybe it's, even if it's surrounded by development or housing or whatever. So. All right. Kind of up in the air, but we'll see where it goes. At least we're a step ahead of where we were a few years ago with the biomap. That helps,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's see. Michael, I know you've been busy on this project. Have you done anything with social media?
No, I have not.
Okay. Understood that, understand that. All right, oh, I'm muting myself again. Okay, the letter was sent to the planning board. Nicole sent the letter about the Lake Nip Hotel, basically along the lines of the conversation we had last meeting. Did she send it out to you? Did you all get the letter? No.
I don't think so.
Oh, all right. I thought maybe she had, but I will send it to you. Really good letter. And we discussed last time the hearing on that project before the planning board is July 19th at 6:30 p.m. So we'll see later who's going to attend that or not, but I'm kind of hoping that maybe Nicole would, but I would like to also. All right, and I will send the letter out to all of you. All right, so what I have in the new business is comments to the planning board on the Perkins proposal. I mentioned this last time. This was one of the two projects that came before the planning board there 2 meetings ago that I reported on at our last meeting. One was this hotel and the other one is the Perkins project, which is down across from what's it across from? Dunkin' Donuts, basically, in near Roach Brothers. And what is it? Is it like a 20-acre parcel or something, Pat? Do you remember?
What did you ask me?
Is it like a 20 acres or something? I don't remember how big it is, the Perkins property.
I'm not sure if it's
Yeah, I'm
fun.
not sure. But anyway, they're proposing a massive project there. I mean, I guess it's, it's an old industrial site and it's been in business for years. I think it's still been in business until recently. But they've been talking about this for a while. And it's housing, it's like a 4-story apartment building and mixed retail in the first floor. And I can't remember how many buildings they proposed, but it's a number. It was in quite dense. And then they were also proposing it's going to be adjacent to the town river. So they're proposing some kind of a park there, and they have to take certain steps to protect the river. And so they were going to make it into a public walking area. And the property itself has been declared a landfill by the state Department of Environmental Protection because what they did there was pretty polluting for how I don't know how many years, but so they're going to have to cap it. So there are some pretty serious environmental concerns doing that next to a river. They say they're going to address it and that the state will make them address it, but we'll see. And I don't know, I mean, there are comments, the next planning board hearing on that project is the 21st of June. And Pat, is it your understanding that we can, the comments can go in after that, or do they have to be there in before then? The 19th of June?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing
Okay,
you.
do you understand that the comments have to be in before June 19th?
Oh,
of Perkins?
I think they would like them, but they generally, where they continued the public hearing, there's still time afterwards,
Okay,
which
all right,
us-
okay, yeah,
usually 2 days. Now, that was a terrible, terrible setup to have two big presentations that same night.
Yeah.
There was so much momentum lost because of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I know Bob Ruley made a presentation at that planning board meeting. He's not in favor of this project. It was kind of interesting because this has been under discussion long before he came here. And he says it doesn't comport well at all with what he is proposing for that area, and just in terms of a style of, what sort of development that
Yeah.
Bridgewater should have. And have any of you been to Mashpee Commons on the Cape?
Yeah.
Well, that's what he's proposing, that Bridgewater should try to do something like that, where you have a kind of a village concept. So you build apartments and you build mixed retail, but it's not, with parking in front of the buildings, and it's just much more of a village concept with a town center and that sort of thing. And so he's coming up with a plan for like the Roche Brothers parking lot and various other parcels in town to make them more dense in terms of housing and retail. And he did not like what they were proposing because he didn't think it met that, what he was trying to do, that it was, as he described it, those buildings could be anywhere, you could put them up in any piece of land anywhere in the country, and they don't have any character. And so, but the planning board seemed to me, Pat, I don't know about you, it seemed to me that they were favorable.
They didn't like it either.
Oh, they didn't? See, I thought they did. I mean, I
No.
thought there were 2 or 3 of them that voted in favor of it.
They had asked them previously to come back with a better design,
Uh-huh.
and they still weren't happy because it wasn't the village concept.
Oh,
they-
okay, that's good.
they-
I didn't get
The
that.
developer added a couple of peaked roofs.
Right,
And,
yes, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and he thought that might do it, but it didn't.
yeah,
Eileen,
yeah.
question. I
Right.
kind of lost what this is about. Is this so they can hit the plan that you have to have so much housing, dense housing near the railroad tracks?
That's part of it, yeah,
but
yeah.
by the
there is that
MTA?
new law, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay,
I
right, that's all.
don't think that was proposed with this in mind per se, but it certainly is something that Bridgewater is committed to. I mean, they, unlike Middleborough, where it's being objected to by the town government, Bridgewater is supportive of that. So, yeah, I think this whole plan that Bob really is coming up with is in design to meet that. And he says he'd like to see Bridgewater could become a model for.
Yeah.
For
And who's the-
transit-oriented development. And-
Who are the contractors? Who are the developers?
Oh, I
Any
don't know.
idea?
I don't
They-
know.
Their name is Edgewood.
I mean, all the plans are on the planning board website, if you're interested in looking at them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can go to their, probably the agenda for their last meeting, and they would have all those up there. In fact, if I think of it, I'll send that link out to you, because
Okay.
all right. Yeah, if you don't hear from me about this stuff, I'm leaving tomorrow, and I can't commit to doing too many things tonight, or I'm gonna be kicking myself tomorrow, so. Let's see, but anyway, I don't have a sense of what our comments would be on this particular property. I mean, yes, it will definitely affect the river. But it's hard to say right now how. I mean, it's probably not gonna be good for it, but that's not that. I don't think we can suggest that they shouldn't build there at all. I mean, right now, the property is probably damaging the river more than what they might build. I mean, it's basically an uncapped landfill and an industrial site that probably has all sorts of pollutants in there.
Well,
So,
they have to put up some sort of barrier to keep things out of the river, I would think,
yeah,
as far as I understand I don't know much about building, but they're gonna have to put up barriers.
Right,
So,
but like, you know, like Pat Neary always points out, you know, they've got a plan for grass. There's gonna be green grass, and if there's green grass and there's parking, there's gonna be runoff. And
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
it necessarily gonna catch all the runoff? I mean, you know, there's runoff. There's requirements for catch basins and things like that, but they don't catch 100% of it, of anything, you know? I mean, that's sort of the issue over at Claremont too, is they're gonna meet all of the state and local standards, but that doesn't mean there won't be damage to the natural resources.
Are you concerned about the pollutants that were already there, right?
Well, I am, yeah, but I'm not suggesting we make comments on this at this point, because I don't know what we'd say. You know, I feel like it's a little premature. I don't think we want to make comments that it's just, but it's next to the river and therefore nothing should be done there, because something has to be done.
Well,
The
wouldn't
other-
wouldn't the EPA have some sense of what, if it's oh gosh, what is it called? You know,
Right, I know what you
a
mean.
landfill, but this is something else it's called, but and it's near
yeah.
water, there
Yeah, I
are
know
certain
what you're
things,
saying. I can't think of that term.
I
either.
can't remember either.
But yeah,
but
it's
there's
something
certain-
that's so toxic, yeah,
Yeah, it has,
it's not
to-
that, it's not that
Yeah.
bad, I don't think, yeah, but it is, you know, the state has determined that it's a landfill, which I think, wasn't necessarily the case, you know, I think they were taking a step towards, serious protection in doing that,
Mhm.
the state, so.
Well, you know, the Wetland Protection Act prohibits anything within 100 feet of a stream or river. But the Rivers Protection Act prohibits 200 feet. So, you know, they can't do
Well, are
And-
they asking for waivers at this point, do we know, Pat?
an
No,
ask, and they probably would do that with the Concom.
okay, but I mean, at this point, we don't know that they're not meeting the standards.
Right,
Yeah. And I don't know, I can't see objecting to it completely, knowing that it's a pit right now, and if they get this turned down, like the other project on where the Friendlies is, et cetera, if that's turned down by the planning board, well, then it's gonna sit there undeveloped again for some number of years.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what's going into the river at this point.
they did indicate that if they came back with better plans,
Uh,
that they be some give and take.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they sounded like they're a little bit more, they're a friendlier
They
developer than the Claremont.
Willing to work with them.
Yeah. So Pat, are you planning to make comments?
Probably. I had prepared a statement for that night, but they didn't take anyone, of
Yeah.
course. So, and I
So
had,
What are you gonna say?
just basically, they're not adhering to particularly the PDD zoning. And, they're not protecting the archaeological, site that's there. And, that, the tomb and,
Well, wait, I'm talking about Perkins.
oh, Perkins, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
was
okay, right,
Yeah.
yeah. You're not planning on commenting on Perkins.
No, unless I see something that, I know something about.
Right, yeah, I think that's how I feel too, having sat through that, and given that it doesn't have the towns or through Bob Ruley's support at this point, I think it's probably a little premature to get too deep into it. So I guess my recommendation is that we don't submit.
Yeah, I'd probably send in a letter after the fact.
Yeah, I would like to, if anyone wants to attend that hearing, as I say, I'm gonna be away, but it's the 19th. It starts at 6:30. Wait, no, that's wrong. That's the July one. The June one is June 21st. The planning board is on Perkins, and that's at 6:30.
Yeah,
So, if you're interested, Michael, or Lauren, just as a matter of, it's a very interesting process, you know, and this is a significant project. Just as a citizen, it's interesting to know what's going on down there. So if you have any interest, you can zoom in and,
Boy, that's next week. Holy cow.
you know,
Hmm.
you can always watch it after the fact too, if you're interested, so. All right, well then we'll just let that one, that'll be to be continued, discussed at another time. All right, so I think we need a month off from our summer meetings. That's why I put down July 20th or August 17th. Is anyone unavailable on either of those days so that we can pick the other one? It doesn't matter to me, I will be around for both of them, but how does July 20th look on all of your calendars?
I'm going to have to go look. I may not be here for either of them.
Oh, okay,
Let me go check.
all right, okay, yes, do.
What was the August date? Sorry,
So, August 17th,
I won't be in the area on August 17th, so I won't be around.
all right, July 20th,
I will be around July 20th, but we don't have to do it around my schedule.
yeah, well, let's see what everyone else's schedule is. Lauren,
I mean, right now, I don't have anything on either of those
Okay.
dates.
all right, yeah, I understand things may come up, okay. And Maureen, did you check? Maureen, you're muted.
Okay, yes, definitely, not available on the 17th of, was it 17th of July?
Yep,
Um,
no, July 20th.
yeah, it
and
doesn't
August
matter.
17th. So you're not
Won't be
available July
Yeah.
20th.
August, actually, I may be here.
All right.
I looked at my calendar wrong. I'm not here on the 24th of August, so I will be here for the 17th of August.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I think we will do August 17th then.
Okay.
And I don't know about Nicole, but she's off in a wild card anyway, so, all right, so we will not have a meeting for July 20th. We will meet on August 17th. So, have a nice month off, sort of, everybody. Especially me, one less set of minutes, one less agenda.
Yes,
Yeah.
enjoy your trip.
Yeah. All right,
All
but
right.
in the meantime, if you, like, you know, so now I guess you could say, if you can go ahead and get those two lists done, Lauren and Mike, and get it to me, sometime, that would be good. I mean, it doesn't, we won't talk about it on July 17th, but maybe, I might try to talk about it with Bob Ruley, just get some clues from him about, you know, next steps or something, and then have something to bring back in August, so. Or Kitty too, I said I would talk to Kitty, so I'll talk to Kitty and see if I can, if any reconnoitering gives us some more insight into those properties, and then maybe a conversation with the town about how to approach them. And I don't know, it might be better if I could get to talk with Michael, because Michael will know these properties, whereas Bob really doesn't at this point, being new to town, so I think I may shoot for a meeting with Michael, yeah, which is harder to get, so.
All right. Yep, we can send that to you.
All right. Thank you. I think, anything else, anybody?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
all right,
I
I'll
second,
second it.
all right, we're adjourning at 8:11 PM. Okay.
All right.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks, everyone.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.